Welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders by interviewing amazing guests to encourage us all to rise up. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, Voices of Visionary Women, Inspiring Female Leaders. And today we have the amazing Shelley Langan, who is an identity and transformation coach. Welcome to the show, Shelley. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Tula. I'm really happy to be here.
Fantastic. Now, for our listeners and viewers, I'm going to tell you about Shelley, who helps coaches and business owners who have left corporate remove the employee programming and become the version of themselves that charges without flinching, shows up and signs clients. Now, I think that sounds fantastic because I'm sure that many of our listeners and viewers would have a problem with that, Shelley. So, well done. I think that's awesome. Now, I know you've been in business for 27 years. You've had 4 businesses in that time and gone through so much more. So I'm going to start the interview with your first question. Are you ready?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so what would you say are some of or I would narrow that down actually, a couple of the biggest personal obstacles you have overcome on your way to success, and how did you do it?
Great question. So about 22 years ago, I went through a divorce, and through that divorce, in our property settlement, I got an arborist business. And the arborist business, I knew the difference between a gum tree and a rose bush, and anything in between I had no idea about. I was not a green thumb. And so I really had no idea what I was doing. I inherited that business, and within the first probably month or so, I actually lost $35,000. Wow. And I thought to myself, wow, okay, well, if I need to, I need to sort of learn what I need to do here. And there was a lot of people ringing me up and a lot of people saying to me I couldn't do it and that I should probably go and do something that I was sort of qualified for. I was making a fool of myself. And I spent about a week in bed because I really did get quite deflated, and it really did get at me. And then I got a phone call from an arborist company in the area who said, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to give you $80,000 and buy your truck and chipper off you, and you go and do something that you know how to do. And that did not sit very well with me, that conversation. And I said, oh, thank you. I'll think about it and I'll get back to you. Well, I got out of bed and it was game on, and I never stopped. And so for 18 years, I then built that business up to having over $1 million turnovers and selling that business when everyone then said I couldn't do it as well. But the beauty of what happened in the beginning, when everyone was telling me that I couldn't do it, what they were doing was going and quoting in front of people and saying, if Shelley comes to quote, she doesn't know what she's doing. And so people told me that. And I was honest with them and I said, yeah, I actually don't know what I'm doing. I got this through a divorce. I'm here. I'm paying off 2 house mortgages. I have 2 children and I'm working it out. And what they did was gave me the job. They gave me a chance. And so that's where it all started for me. So that was huge back then. And it has totally shaped who I am today.
Well, I have to say, congratulations. That's an incredible achievement. And it just goes to show when people do the wrong thing, they're wrong and right. I mean, it is, let's remove judgment. But when people do things like that, it can go both ways, can't it? It can deflate us, or it can actually motivate us. And you find that, obviously you were genuine. You just said, hello, I can't, I don't know what I'm doing, but this is it. I'm trying it out, and they gave you a chance, which is awesome. But I also think this is a really great topic of discussion for us today, is how many times we are told we can't do something and we should stop doing it. I know, in my past life, I was an actor, TV presenter, filmmaker. But when I first started in the industry, the entertainment industry, I mean, this was way back in our lifetime when we didn't have, you know, the internet, we didn't have mobile phones, any of that. All I knew was that, and I'd had done classes like dance classes, music classes, performance classes all through my younger life. But really, I just thought, my dream was to become an actor, and I didn't know how I was going to do it or who I could do it through. But I did mention it to a couple of friends of mine, and I will never, ever forget this. One of my friends said, "Oh, what are you going to do? Are you going to be sweeping the floors on Neighbours?" You know, things like that. And then after that, when I got to see a casting director, she said, "I have a wall full of, you know, I saw all those photographs of famous actors, a wall full of actors here. Why should I give you a job?" You know? And so I went through the same thing, and I would actually love, and of course I didn't stop, and I became a working actor for many, many years. But the point of this is I want to hear from our listeners and viewers, how many of you have been told that you can't do something, and did you stop then, or did that give you motivation just to do it? So I think that's a great question to ask our listeners and viewers, don't you think, Shelley?
Absolutely, because what we get told is sometimes we can believe that if we're not feeling good about ourselves. And so when we do feel a little bit deflated, it's like, oh, you know, I don't feel I'm confident enough, or I don't feel I can do this. And so it is a lot about a self-belief. And although at the very beginning I did not have a lot of self-belief, because every time I turned up to do a quote, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to be looking at? Because I have no qualifications whatsoever.
Yeah.
But what I found was that the more honest I was with somebody, the more it opened up lines of communication to then go, okay, I can find out the answer for you. Give me a couple of days, I will come back to you. And because that level of service was beyond anyone else's, it then increased my confidence in who I was, and that it enabled me to go further and beyond. And in the end, after probably about 10 years, I started taking on Richard Branson's methodology, if you want to call it that. Say yes. If someone asks you to do something and you have no idea what to do, say yes, and then go and find out how to do it. And so I was being asked to do all sorts of things in that arborist business that I had no idea what to do. But what I did was I then made calls to people. I then figured it out how to do it, and then was able to come up with a quote for that particular person. Now, whether I got the job or not, it didn't matter, because what it was doing was I was learning all the time.
That's right.
And that was the beauty of it. And the more we learn, the more knowledge we have, the more confidence we have in who we are. And then we can do things that people then say, or look at us and go, oh my goodness, I thought you couldn't do that, but look at you, look at how you're going. So yeah, it's definitely something that we can, you know, always look at for ourselves.
Fantastic. I mean, it just goes to show nothing beats authenticity, does
Absolutely.
it?
Absolutely.
So my next question to you is, what were the first few steps you took to get your business up and running? I think you actually may have answered that, because you said you would get the inquiries and then go off, do your research and find out how to do it. So tell me why. So let's talk about your business today, which is, of course, you know, as an identity transformation coach. Why are you passionate about it?
Okay, so I've had coaches in my life for the past 14 years, and I don't think I would ever be without a coach. And it was whilst I was being coached that I started writing a coaching program, and I didn't even realize that I was doing it. And then when I came to the end of it, I thought, oh, wow, I've actually just written a little coaching program, and I called it the Intentional Confidence. And so what I learned from that was I love being in the space of having a coach, and I'm a natural kind of teacher and talker. So it was like, for me to then decide to be a coach, it was like that next progressive step for myself. So I then decided, okay, I was never qualified to run an arborist business, so I'm actually now going to get qualified to be a coach. So I then went down that path to get some qualifications behind me and really get those skills happening, so that I could then work on who and how I wanted to coach, what I wanted to coach, but I also fell in love with the concept. And it's like I walk my talk. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, fantastic. That's awesome. So tell me, what have been your biggest challenges so far, would you say?
With coaching,
Yeah, and how have you overcome those challenges, if you have overcome them?
yeah, look, I think there's, we're all always going to have challenges in our life because we're all like, I know I will, because I'm always stepping up. I'm always wanting to go to that next level. So one of the first challenges I had when I became a coach was I didn't realize I was going to have to be so visible on social media. And
Okay.
that was one of the things that I was a little bit worried about to start off with, because when I had my arborist business, you're behind the phone. Okay, you might turn up and stand there in front of the person and do the quote, but initially you actually are behind a phone or a computer. So with online and social media, you're actually selling yourself all the time.
That's right. You become your own brand.
Yeah, so putting a post out there, doing a reel, doing a story, you're selling yourself. And so that was one of the things that came across me, or an obstacle that I came across quite early in that, was that I was like frozen. I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And so I used my techniques in how I coach people to move forward. And that's what I did with myself. And it was like, yeah, Shelley, you can do this.
Well, of course, because it comes down to self-worth. If
Yeah,
we don't actually care what people think about us, because let's face it, everybody thinks about themselves, right? Pretty much. So if we're not, up for people's approval, we can do anything we like. Because
absolutely.
there will be haters and there will be lovers. We know that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And it was, and it was getting that permission from myself first to put myself out on social media, to remove that fear or not have that judgment about myself, because there's always going to be fear no matter what you're doing. Because if you're wanting to move forward, you've got to step through that fear. You've got to, feel it and go, yes, I can be beyond this. And so it was interesting that was actually a hiccup for me. I didn't think it would be, but it was. And so it took me a little bit of time to move forward through that. But once I moved forward through it, push those doors open and step straight through, it was like, yeah, okay, all right, now people are seeing me. Okay, they're seeing me and they're being judgmental. Or am I being judgmental? And so the thing was, it was more I was being judgmental, because everyone else was saying, oh, look what Shelley's doing. Okay, this is great. How awesome is this? And this is the interesting thing, how what we perceive and other people perceive can be very, two different things.
absolutely.
So that was one of the biggest obstacles. But once I got past that, then it was like, yeah, okay, keep doing it.
So sorry to interrupt you, but I'd like to know, and I think our listeners and viewers would benefit as well. How did you get past it? What did you actually do to get past it? Was
Okay.
it using your tools as a coach?
Yes, there was two things that I did. So there was using the tools as a coach that I use for my coaching clients and also for myself. And so what I was doing was I coach the power of your mind, understanding your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And so I knew where my beliefs were sitting, which are in your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind creates 96 to 98% of your results. So it was that filtration from my conscious mind that I was actually telling my subconscious mind that I can do this. I am capable of doing this. It's okay for me to be visible on social media. It's okay for me to put myself out there and not be perfect. It's okay for me to put myself out there and have people say, what the hell do you think you're doing? So I was giving myself permission to do all those sorts of things. Then what I did was I did about 4 million videos without posting any of it.
That's quite a practice run there. You did. So, what came to mind when you were talking about that? Actually, about how you look or how you delivered it. Again, the power of authenticity. People love authenticity. So whether you put out a video where you're having a bad hair day or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Is that what you found? Do you think?
Yes, and what mattered was how I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing, you know, so many people are, you know, putting themselves out there. And so you look at the younger generation. So I'm in my 50s. And so I grew up with a father who was very much, you do not speak until you're spoken to.
Oh, yes, I can relate to that.
Yes. Yes. And so my kids are in their 20s and their teens. And when it comes to social media, they're very different about it because their generation has grown up being very much in the realm of adults and asking questions and, you know, being visible and what have you. So me coming into that social media space, it was all about how I saw myself more so than what anyone else saw of me. So it was like, until I got over that judgment of myself, what are other people going to think, you know? Until I got over that, then I was okay. But yeah, I did go through that process of doing a couple of takes before I'd put something out. Now I just do 1 or 2 takes and it's out there. It's no problem whatsoever. But it's going through that process of giving yourself permission to be this new version of yourself.
And what it brings to my mind as well is that when we accept ourselves, the world accepts us as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah. We've just got to give ourselves permission.
So my next question to you is, how do you keep motivated through difficult times?
I think the thing is just understanding what I coach people is coming from that place of where you want to be. So if you have a goal, think of it in 2 years from now and live and act and breathe as if you're already there. Reason I do that is because every circumstance, having a conversation with someone, seeing something on a billboard will take you away from what you're thinking about or what you're actually wanting in terms of goal. So if we act as if we're already there, what we're doing is we're building the belief. And when we're telling ourselves this is who we are, we're building that belief in our subconscious mind. And as I said before, our subconscious mind creates 96 to 98% of our results. Yeah. It influences how we actually act. Yeah. And how we act is what creates the results. So when it comes to sitting in that space of either having an obstacle or having something that is a bit challenging at the time or feels a little bit more of a hardship, it's reminding myself of who I am becoming and the goal that I have, the new reality that I am bringing into my life. Because when I focus on that, it's taking me away from the things that I don't want to give energy to. And so a lot of the times we give energy to things we don't want.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That is so profound. Thank you so much, Shelley. That's really okay. It's an amazing tool. So tell me, what is the best advice you have received recently?
I think the best advice I have received recently is we are a mirror. Everything we put out is a reflection of who we believe we are in ourselves. So I think this is a really good reminder that if we're not getting the results that we want, or if we're not achieving the things that we want to achieve, we've got to look at ourselves. And so when we actually go in and have a look at ourselves and ask ourselves, okay, well, what is going on here? We get the answers, and it's not about such and such is looking at me at a certain way, or someone didn't ring me last week, or these outside circumstances. It's all about how we see ourselves on the inside. And I think that is just such great advice and such a good reminder to myself and anybody that we are a mirror. So look at that. Look at our results and then go, okay, well, they may be really good. I want them to be better. How can I be better?
Absolutely. I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's also important to be a witness and not a judge. But in terms of mirrors for our listeners and viewers, you might think, oh, are we a mirror? How is the world a mirror? Well, I can give a really simple example. If you say, for instance, we're feeling really angry one day, really angry, and we go out into the world, what do we get but aggression all around us, everywhere. So that is a really, really good example of the world being a mirror.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much. That is so profound. So my next question to you is, and now I don't want you to tell me about everything because there are so many. What are your favorite business tools, resources, and why?
Okay, so there is one book that I have had for quite some time. It goes overseas with me. It goes in my handbag. It goes
So
absolutely
your best friend, Shelley?
What was that?
Is that book your best friend?
Yes. And it's called U Squared by Price Pritchard.
Nice.
Yeah, it's only a very small book, and each chapter is only, 2 pages long. So it's a very short book that you can read in, half an hour kind of thing, but it has such great insight into personal development. And so U Squared, meaning get the best out of yourself and go to that next level. So it is a fantastic book.
Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. So tell me, Shelley, what are your current goals and how are you striving to achieve them?
Yep. Okay. So I would love my clients and any potential clients coming through to come into my programs when they have been in corporate and they're looking to remove that employee program. Most of the time, they're not even looking to remove it because they don't even realize they have it.
Yes.
So, yes. And so when we remove that employee program and we're coming into a business of our own, we've got to be that CEO of that business. And a lot of the times, if you've been in corporate or had a job of your own for, say, 20, 30 years, there's a particular programming that you have as an employee that will not serve you as a CEO. So that's what I actually, what my current goal is, to have as many people come into that program that are changing from that employee programming into the CEO and getting their coaching business or their business up and running, and remove that employee programming.
I think that's really, really helpful, Shelley, because we do come up with that conditioning, don't we? If we're conditioned as an employee, it's very different to running your own business. So I think what you're doing is incredibly valuable. Thank you so much. Now, my next question to you is, are you currently running any promos, contests, giveaways?
Yes, I've got a free masterclass coming up next week. That's on Wednesday at 12 noon Australian Eastern Standard Time. It's called the 5 Identity Shifts Coaches Must Have. So we're looking at the employee programming to the CEO. We're looking at doubt to confidence, scarcity to abundance, invisible to demand, almost to actually. So we've almost got our business there, but we're not quite there yet. So I'd love people to come along to that if they would love to.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you how they can connect with that. Thank you so much. That is so generous of you to offer that to our listeners and viewers. Before I ask you how we can connect with you, what advice do you think you would give to other aspiring female entrepreneurs?
Okay, always know what the end goal is. Know where you want to land. So when you know where you want to land, you can always come back to that space if you're ever being influenced by outside circumstances, and never give up. Because the amount of times I hear people say, oh, I wanted to achieve this, but I then decided to go and do this. Sometimes the journey can take a little bit longer than what we think. And it's like, okay, it might have been just around the corner and someone's given up. So a lot of the times we give up because we're not seeing the results. Yeah. If you're not seeing the results, that's okay. It's part of the journey, but just don't give up.
That's right. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And the magic is in the journey, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's magic. So, Shelley, how do we connect with you? Well, on social media, website, etc., but also the masterclass, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so you can connect with me on Facebook, and you can get the details on Facebook with the masterclass. I've popped up some details in there. I'm also on Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn. You can email me at hello@shelleylangan.com, and I'm also have a website which is www.shelleylangan.com.
Fantastic. And is that your username on social media as well?
Shelley Langan, yes, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, that sounds fantastic. So thank you very, very much. It's been a really fun and insightful interview, and I thank you so much for your time. I wish you amazing success, Shelley. And
thank you so much for having me.
The behind you look beautiful too, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Gotta Show podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, Feel free to like, subscribe, share, and we look forward to seeing you next time.